Kimmay here with Hurray Kimmay TV, and I am super excited to introduce you to one of my favorite people in the whole world, Natalie McNeil. Natalie is the owner of SheTakesOnTheWorld.com, which is one of the best resources out there for women in business. She's also the leader of the Conquer Club, an incubator program that I've been a part of for 3 years and just signed up for my 4th year. This is one of the best communities that I've ever been a part of, and I cannot wait for you to hear more about it. Plus, Natalie, who has won an Emmy, who's had her own media company, who has been invited to Necker Island with Richard Branson, is sharing some of her insider tips on how she did it all and how you can do it too. Plus, she is guiding us through our very own meditation at the very end of this. This is a pretty lengthy interview. Once Natalie and I started talking, things got really juicy and we just couldn't stop. So if there's something specific that you want to go to, I've put a little guide right here below this video so you can jump to exactly what you want to get to. I cannot wait for you to meet Natalie McNeil.
Hooray! It's Natalie McNeil. Natalie, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Hooray!
Hooray is right. Thank you so much for being on brand for me.
Hooray kind of day.
It is now, for sure, for sure. So I've already gushed a bunch about you and how much I just absolutely adore being in your Conquer Club program, how I've seen you on She Takes on the World, just give the most beautiful resources to women in business and just people in general. And now even with your new Soul Seconds website, I think that everything you're doing is just super cool, that we could talk about this forever. But as a Conquer Club member, I really want to start there first. So give us a little background about the Conquer Club. What is it?
Yeah, so the Conquer Club is a 12-month business incubator. And I say incubator instead of program because it's very different from a program, as you would know. And the way that it's different is that it is a lot more immersive and a lot more focused on implementation. So we pick up where a lot of other programs would leave off, which is the actual doing. We try to make things as personalized as possible for people. So I bring up the example of, we had a member who asked about a sales funnel and what a good sales funnel would be for creating an online course. And our community manager, Kelly, went in and did a custom Conquer class for her. So she actually took her through her sales funnel and what that might look like and explained each of the steps and why each of those steps would be necessary and how they would contribute to generating more leads and sales. So very customized. We have over 100 Conquer classes. And I do office hours every month where I will look at your website or your sales page or any resource that you send me a link to. And these are the kinds of things that you just don't get in programs. It's highly customized. And I would say in that respect, it's almost more like it's like having a coach. Even though you're with a group of people, it is kind of like having your own personalized coach. And I've heard from people, and these are their words, not mine, I've gotten more out of the Conquer Club than I have with some one-on-one coaches. We hear this from members all the time, and I think that is what makes us different.
I can agree with that. I've been through lots of different programs and coaches, and the Conquer Club is, I'm going on my 4th year in the Conquer Club for a reason. I feel like it's so awesome, and specifically because of what you just talked about. It really feels like I get one-on-one attention, because I do, but also there's like a community aspect to it that I feel like even in other really wonderful programs that I've been a part of is just lacking. Would you agree that the community is kind of like the difference maker in this whole thing?
Oh, absolutely. Our community is, I know I'm biased, our community is golden. And Alyssa Wallace, one of our other members, she
love her.
And I were talking about this. Love Alyssa Wallace. We were talking about this on an interview that we did last week, and she said, you know, the Conquer Club, and what I love so much is that this is a group that really wants to give to you, not just take from you. People aren't there to be all me. It's truly a collaborative environment, and people deeply care about one another. They get together in their own cities. We've had members travel to visit one another for dinners and for meetups. And Alyssa was saying when she went through this horrific flooding that happened in Louisiana, we received care packages from Conquer Club members. I mean, that is the kind of community that we have. It's a community that really rallies around one another, and everyone is there to lift each other up. And that's just the most incredible thing to see. The energy is beautiful.
I can agree with that 100% too. And I know Alyssa, she's wonderful. And that's not the only example from that group. I mean, we've had conquerors go through some really difficult things, and I know for a fact we've all been there for each other. I mean, I sent a care package to someone I've never met in person, but felt so deeply compelled to help and support because she's part of that community, and I knew she needed it. And also we celebrate with each other as well. Like, it's one of the very few places on the Facebook world, right, where I actually feel completely safe to both share like a struggle that I'm going through and like a really big hooray. It just feels like they get it. Like, these women just totally understand where I'm coming from in business and in life. That's really awesome.
And it's more of an intimate group because we don't do the lifetime access program model. So if you are in the Conquer Club, we make sure that we make it super accessible for you to come back. You get to come back at a fraction of the cost if you want to stay in the community. So we do make it really accessible. But because every year we have people recommit to being part of the community, I think that changes the dynamic as well. It keeps the community smaller and more intimate rather than having this lifetime access where every year we're adding more people, but the people who aren't really engaged, showing up, are still in there too. So we always have this community made up of people who really want to be there and really want to be participating and there for each other.
Yeah, love it. And that's a good word, engaged. I think that group is super duper engaged. So let's talk about the logistics of the Conquer Club. We've already talked at length about how awesome it is and the benefits that women are getting. But let's talk about, like, there are classes, there are courses, and then there are these two options on the online course and then the inner circle. Just briefly, can you let us know the logistics of or the difference between them?
For sure. So at our base membership level, which is the Conquer Club Online, this is where the majority of our members are. You get full access for the 12 months, plus we have 6 bonus weeks that are thrown in there so that you finish the rest of the year off with us, and then you start. Because I like having this overlap at the end of the year where new members get to come and start participating and start to get to know the community before we dive in January. So we have over 100 classes. Every month we have 2 office hours. There are also systems calls with our community manager and systems guru, Kelly Azevedo. We have a brand new feature for the Conquer Club 2017, which is the million mark mentoring calls. And this is hooray! I don't even think I've talked about this with anybody yet. It's still been like top secret, so you're one of the first to know. And we will have some of my peers who are also at a 7-figure business level come on, and we'll be dissecting their business and going through what it took to make that happen. Because whether or not you want to build $1 million business, it doesn't matter. There's still a lot that you can learn from people who have done that. And it can help you really at any level of business just to know what your best next steps might be and looking at how a business is structured to scale and to grow. So I think that's going to be a huge feature that people are going to absolutely love. Now, in the inner circle level of membership, we've got our retreat, which is going to be a 2-day live event in Napa Valley in 2017. And then you also get these Get It Done days with Kelly and I, where we spend a day with you every about 6 weeks. And you commit to getting something done that day, getting something big done. So there's a lot of engagement, a lot of feedback, and you can jump on and off with us on the line throughout the day so that we can give you that very high level personalized support to drive a project forward.
Awesome. And I actually started out as a online Conqueror Clubber, and now I am in the inner circle and I'm never going back. It's just the best. It's probably been one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had. So I'm totally game for that. Okay, so I'm so glad that you're adding in these kind of bigger scaled companies and peers to come and help people make a bigger step in their business. But there's also a lot of people who are taking a first step. And I know you've seen hundreds, if not thousands of people start businesses. So if you could, in all of your years of experience, break it down, like what is your most basic or most important piece of advice for someone who is just starting in business?
Great question. So I'm going to go with the most important thing, and there are a lot of important things, but one of the most critical things, and this is very contradictory seeming to a lot of people, you've got to have the support and the help in order to even start to be able to scale. And for a lot of people at beginning stages, they're like, well, I can't afford to hire help. And I have been there too. I was there at the beginning when I was still a student, starting my first business and on very, very limited funds. And I was like, I can't have somebody help me. And I started by getting a VA to just work a couple hours a week. And from my part-time job, I paid this income to someone for a couple hours a week to start helping me with some of the things in the business that I didn't have to do myself, so that I could focus on higher level things. And I think that is one of the most important things that you can do when you're starting out, because every single moment of your time needs to be spent on getting that business off the ground and starting to bring in the revenue. Your job needs to be to sell. You need to be selling because you need that money coming in so that you can grow. And oftentimes people don't have the time to sell because they're doing all the small tasks in the business that somebody else could do. So I think that is one of the most important things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a virtual assistant that you hire. One of the things that helped me when I made a decision that I wanted to scale up to 7 figures was hiring someone to come in and clean my home.
Yes, I did the same thing.
Meals. Yes, hooray!
Hooray!
Yeah, and it's amazing how those little things make such a big difference. So having somebody come in during my busiest times of year especially and do all of the chores around my home or to make me my meals. People think that these are luxurious things to spend money on, but it doesn't have to cost as much as you think it might cost. You know, having someone come into your home and help you with things a couple hours a week, that can go a long way in helping you focus on what's most important. So that's one of the things that I understand when the funds are low, that it's very difficult to justify spending money on your business, but you've got to do that. And then the other thing would be advertising, which I want to mention, because I do believe that you have to spend money to make money. Of course, there are the unicorns who can build a business without really spending any money at all, but those people are few and far. Most of us do spend money making money. And even this example came up in the Conquer Club just a couple weeks ago, where it cost $500 in ads in order to generate $3,000 in sales. And it was hard for this member to justify spending $500 on an ad campaign. But guess what? Now $3,000 in revenue came in. So was it worth it? Yes, of course it's worth it. And it's figuring out the math there and tracking those conversions so that you can feel more comfortable about spending the money in the future.
I cannot say hooray enough for this, for what you're saying, especially the first part, because I think a lot of people, but I am going to say women, really feel like we have to do it all ourselves. And I think that the thinking that you're describing right now really differentiates someone between being a freelancer and a business owner. And that was a good like mental shift that I had to make when I first started. And I wish I had brought someone on sooner. I think the way that I thought was such a lack mentality is like, I don't have the funds, I have to do everything myself, I have to work super duper hard. And once I released that a little bit and trusted, and you can say in, you know, the divine and yourself and the universe and God, whatever, like once I trusted and let go of that grip and invited people in to support me, holy moly, my business completely bloomed and skyrocketed. I went from thinking that I might be in my business me working at home with maybe one virtual assistant to now I work in an office space, and I have like 3 or 4 team members. And I say 3 or 4 because that 4th one is my cleaning lady. She is totally on my team, and she was the first investment that I made in my business. And because I was working from home, I could not work in a messy place, and I was completely distracted by the dishes and distracted by the messy, you know, stuff in our teeny apartment. I just couldn't focus. And so I made it a business expense to hire someone to come in every now and then and clean. And it just gave me that space to be productive. But also, Natalie, I cried. I cried when I hired her because I was so nervous about feeling luxurious or self-indulgent or being worried that I wasn't a good enough wife or woman. I thought, oh gosh, I can't even clean my own 400 square foot apartment. Like, what's wrong with me? And making the decision to do that was one of the best things that I've ever done. So now I have a virtual assistant who actually is here a lot, so she's not that virtual. I have a community manager, I have a CFO and a bookkeeper, and an online business manager. I mean, all of those people add up so that I can go do the things in my business that I do well and release and delegate the things that are just not in my zone of genius. So thank you so much.
That is how you build and grow. Like that is how you bring in a lot more revenue and create new revenue streams. And you just have to make sure that you are committed to bringing in revenue during those blocks of time that are now in someone else's hands. So when I didn't have to publish my blog posts anymore, when I didn't have to do the cleaning, I made sure that that time was spent driving revenue so that the business could grow. I didn't squander that time. I didn't, you know, go and have me time or free time. I just really focused on the growth during those hours.
So I will say though, one of the things that I realized when I hired my cleaning lady, she would come in and it would probably take me honestly like 5 hours to clean my apartment, right? And she would do it in like 2 or 3. And I realized in those 5 hours that I would have spent cleaning, I'm paying her, you know, X amount of dollars, but I could make X amount of dollars, right? Like I could make X times 100 amount of dollars just because I had the time to make a pitch or make a sale. And I also probably had an hour or 2 left over to actually have some me time or go spend time with my husband or meditate or, you know, just like time to actually be a human being, which I think is important to being a boss. Also about advertising, I'll say this as a marketer, that I think advertising feels very icky to people. It feels very, not like a waste, but just very inauthentic. And I think that there are so many cool ways that you can market and advertise yourself now and spend the time and the money to get your words out there without it feeling like, ugh, an ad. And I do a lot of this with companies. We do native advertising and really collaborative campaigns, and I advertise on their behalf, but in a really meaningful, heartfelt way. So trust me, if anyone's out there doubting Natalie, it can be done. You could do this and it's worth it. I promise.
You're a great example of beautifully executed marketing strategies and campaigns for sure.
Thank you. So, so next question, and you actually kind of mentioned this, that you hired someone to come in and help you, and you had the funds to do that because you still had a part-time job, right? You had a job. And so for someone who is starting maybe their business on the side and they can't just completely quit their job and start their business, what is your advice for making that transition? Or more importantly, like, how do you know it's right to make that transition from it being a side hustle to it being your main business?
Yeah, so I started right out of university, and I actually had a small business, not the one I'm running today, but I had another small business when I was in university. During that time, I also still worked part-time and full-time in the summer at a car factory on an assembly line.
Wow.
It was like day shifts and night shifts and so much overtime and working Saturdays, but that allowed me to be paying for my education and also have money for the business. So when I finished university and decided to do full-time business, I was at a point where I didn't have a lot of expenses. I was used to living like a student already. So I just thought, if I have to live like a student for another couple of years, that's okay with me. And I was able to still be bringing in a little bit of income from part-time work, but I knew that I could cut my expenses. Now, I know that not everybody can cut their expenses as drastically as I was able to, because in Canada, I'm living in the US now, but as a Canadian, going to university there was not as expensive. I did not have student loans to pay off. My housing was pretty affordable. I had full health coverage. So because of that, I realized that my situation might have been a little bit different from other people. And then the other transition I actually had to make was when I had my media and production company and decided to do She Takes on the World full time. That transition took about 18 months of scaling down the media and production and ramping up She Takes on the World so that that could be full time for me. So I've had these two very different transition periods into doing something that was full time that I really, really wanted to be working on. So my advice for people who are currently in a side hustle and wanting to turn this into a full-time gig is to really be mindful of how you're spending your time outside of that full-time work that you still need to be doing. So even in my media and production company, before transitioning into She Takes on the World full-time, I had a plan every single day for my 5 to 9 hours. So I would work 9 to 5 as a producer. And then after that, I was very mindful of my 5 to 9, making sure that every day I did just a couple small things to build that business and to take a few steps forward. And they can be really small things, but I think you need to be doing it consistently. And you need to take it very seriously and treat it as a real business from day one. For me, I wanted to have at least 6 months of expenses in the bank account before fully leaving behind that work and moving into doing something new full time. This may differ depending on your tolerance for risk, whether or not you have a family to support. You might want to have more in the bank than that. You might be comfortable with less depending on the revenue that you're pulling in from your side gig. But I think it's important to have a date in mind. And I had this date in mind. It was like 18 months out at the time, but I was like, in the next 18 months, this is what I'm going to do. These are the things I'm going to need to do on a day-to-day basis to get ready for this. This is the amount of money I want to have in my bank account. This is the amount of money I want to have loaned to She Takes on the World Inc. from me personally to be able to get started. And then this is the date that I am absolutely doing this full time by. And that was by the beginning of the year 2012. So even in 2010, 2011, She Takes on the World was still part-time. And again, it was just that ramp up period, but I had this date of December 31st, 2011, like that is it. Beyond that, I want She Takes on the World to be able to be my full-time thing, even if there are a couple other projects that I need to be part of, depending on what needed to be what needed to be scaled down.
Cool.
So that's how I did it, but everyone's journey is different. And I think it's just about having that plan and not being too hard on yourself. Like, what can you realistically do as one task in an evening to get things one step closer? Don't compare yourself to people who are running their companies full time. You're just not going to be able to get as much done.
Totally.
But you can have a plan and be getting done what you can, and eventually you're going to be able to make that leap.
Yeah. So we are very similar in some ways and really different in some ways. We're really similar because I actually worked full-time and went to school full-time. And I was completely financially independent at 18, living in New York City. And that hustle got me to where I am today, which is great. I had a different experience of leaving my job because I actually was working part-time as I was ramping down from working with a company. And I just had a very serendipitous story about this, but it's too long. And I left and quit, had no severance, no nothing. And then 1 week later to the day, my husband lost his job. And then 2 weeks later, on our 2-year wedding anniversary, I lost my only client. And I was like, okay. And I really had this opportunity to go take a full-time job. You know, like I could sell lingerie products, wholesale, retail, whatever you want, with my eyes closed and my hands behind my back. And it was just the right timing for me personally, because we didn't have kids, we didn't have a mortgage. It just felt like the right time for me to just make it work. And so I hustled and hustled and hustled, just like I had done when I was in school. But now I'm actually finding that the hustle, even though I work really hard, that kind of like masculine energy of like always running forward and always kind of like doing the next thing and go, 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 go is actually not the best way for me to work anymore. So I'm curious for you, have you found any shift in your business now that you've sort of already started, that you feel like you can release and work in kind of a more feminine way or softer or take these breaks? Or do you feel like you just have to power through all the time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I definitely felt like I had to bring more of the masculine energy into my business when I was starting it because I was really young. I was still a teenager running my first business. And I thought that for people to take me seriously, I needed to wear power suits. Like I used to wear black pantsuits. I would never, today I'm wearing a kimono and like I would never wear a black.
Yeah, your beautiful caftan. It looks great.
Yeah, maybe I don't know what situation I would be in to wear a black pantsuit, but that was my go-to wardrobe item back in the day. And I felt like I needed to act older than I really was, dress older, try to look older. And it was a conversation I had in my early 20s with Arianna Huffington when I had just started writing She Takes on the World as a blog. And I got this recognition from her and Donna Karan and the current or the first lady of the UK at the time, Sarah Brown. And I got to have this conversation with Arianna Huffington and interview her at this event in New York. And we were just talking and she said, you know, I am so inspired by your generation because I think you are going to be the ones that get it right, that balance between the masculine and feminine energy and recognizing that you can be yourself in the business world and you can be feminine and that will eventually be celebrated, even if it's not yet fully celebrated, but we're making a lot of progress. And having that conversation with her really shifted things for me. And I started to feel more comfortable bringing that feminine side of me to business. Now I'd say that I definitely have that masculine feminine balance, and I think everything in balance is wonderful. And I guess I go in and out because when I'm in launch mode, I do feel like I have that more masculine drive. But then I recognize that that can be too much. And if I do that and I'm in that mode or within a very like warrior archetype for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, I know that that's sort of my breaking point where I need to pull back and move back into that more feminine queen archetype, if that makes sense. So
yeah, it does.
I go like in and out of these different archetypes, and that's the way that I like to approach things. It's like, okay, I'm going to go into my warrior archetype. I might have to be there for a couple months, but then I'm going to go into more of like a goddess archetype and just totally relax, and it'll be all about self-care. And I have also found that now that I'm in California, I have a little bit more balance naturally because I have this beautiful weather every day and I've never lived by the ocean before. So I bike down to the ocean almost every day and watch the sunset and go for an ocean swim. And I just feel so like recharged, and it really rejuvenates me to be in nature. So I've been getting a little more of that here. So I'm still very new here. We'll see how that plays out over time, but I think it's going to be really good for me to be in an environment like that.
It sounds so dreamy. I'm so jealous. And I feel like
every day
yeah, I think getting to do that on a daily basis is so necessary and not always possible for everyone, right? And even like where you are right now and being able to do that is that you happen to be in that zone too. Like maybe you just really needed this right now. So I like the idea of going in and out, and it doesn't even have to be a daily balance. It can be like for weeks or months at a time. I really like that a lot. One of my favorite ways that I kind of check in with my feminine energy, or even run my business with that feminine energy, is meditation and visualizations. Yes. And that's something that I know. Oh, wait, say it again.
I said, as you know, big part of my life too. Yes.
Exactly. And I feel like one of the coolest things about working with you is that you totally are that driven, successful, masculine energy kind of boss. And you have all of these gorgeous tools on in the Conquer Club and on She Takes on the World about meditating, about tuning in, about checking in with your intuition, about visualizing the future that like I don't feel like a lot of other business people talk about. So can you tell me a little bit about how that sort of fits into you as a businesswoman?
Yeah, absolutely. I started meditating at a pretty young age, and I traveled quite a bit. Even when I was in university, I would go on these like really budgeted trips, and I found myself on a trip in China, and we were at this beautiful, beautiful temple, and these monks invited me to meditate with them. And I was like, I think I was 18 at the time or 19, and they looked so happy and they looked so peaceful. And I was like, I want that, but I don't know. And I sat with them and I meditated for maybe 30 seconds. And I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. And the monk said to me, like, it's okay. You keep practicing. You keep practicing. You know, 30 seconds is okay for now. Maybe tomorrow, 31 seconds. Maybe the next day, 32 seconds. And maybe when you're 100 years old, you'll be meditating for an hour. Adding like 1 second. So I was laughing at that, and I promised him I was going to make this commitment and continue to try to meditate. And that's exactly what happened. It started off with just these like quick 1-minute meditations, and now I sit in meditation for a lot longer every day because it grounds me in a way that nothing else can. And it connects me to not only my creativity, but it makes me more productive, and it helps me solve problems. It helps me expand time. Like when I'm in a meditation, time just doesn't exist to me. And something that might take me 3 hours to solve on paper when I'm at my computer, if there's a problem or challenge that comes up and I'm trying to fix it, I can go into meditation and, you know, I'll come out of it and be like, okay, that was 10 minutes. Great. I have this challenge completely solved and I'm ready to move forward. Something that would have taken me a lot longer had I not just tuned into myself in that way.
Totally. Yeah.
Meditation just helps on so many different levels. And I think it's important to start your day that way, especially. I think it's very, very powerful at the beginning of the day because you can just tune in. You can, one of my favorite things to do is the prayer from A Course in Miracles at the beginning of the day, which is just a full surrender. Like, where will you have me go? What will you have me do? Who will you have me meet? And what will you have me say? Like, I just surrender this day. And I feel like that kind of prayer meditation first thing in the morning, it sets me up for the rest of my day. It starts my day in a way that if I don't do that, if I completely skip it in the morning, I'm just not the same. It's very, very different. My day goes very differently when I don't start it with meditation.
Wow. I am not a avid meditator all of the time. And I can tell you, I lead women's circles and we do these visualizations. And anytime I do meditate or just tune in and check in and ask my intuition or divine power, you're so right. The answer just comes. It just comes. Like I could sit there and intellectually think about something for a long time and really stress myself out about it. And then I can just surrender, which that is the key word, and tune in and ask and really listen. And it's like no other experience I've ever had. It just feels so right. So thank you so much for sharing that. And in fact, I would ask if you're open to maybe leading us through a short meditation now, not an hour, because we're not 100 years old yet, but maybe something short so we can just tune in and check in. Could you lead us through something?
Yes, for sure. So let's do, let me get this set up. Let me get we need music. If we don't have background music,
I'm totally with you. I do the same thing.
Yeah, let's find a good background music track for people. And I'm going to turn off my video too, so that we've got full focus on audio.
Awesome.
But I will get people to, so you can sit up straight and tall, straight spine.
I'm going to mute myself just so you know.
And roll your shoulders back. And just take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, let it all go and just relax into your body and take another deep inhalation and release. And we'll take one more of these breaths together. Deep breath in, expanding the tummy and letting it out. And I'm just going to turn off my video and we'll get some music going here. You can close your eyes. I'm going to play this mantra song from Jai Jagdish, who I love. And this is a mantra for expanding through obstacles, which we'll have in the background while I lead you through this. So close your eyes, completely relax into your body. Breathe deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth. Focus on the breath. Count to at least 4 as you breathe in and 4 as you breathe out. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Let the day melt away. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. Continue breathing deeply on your own for a few moments. In your mind's eye, I want you to see a big, beautiful mansion set on lush green grounds. Start walking towards it. Walking past beautiful, fragrant flowers and trees. These perfect gardens as you get closer to the front door. And as you approach the front door, It opens for you and you can step inside. When you step inside, you find yourself looking down a long hallway with many doors on both sides of the hallway. Walk down the hall and notice that each room has its own name. You see doors that say prosperity and abundance, love, health, success, creativity, business. There's a door that says your name. Maybe there's a few other doors with their own names that I haven't mentioned. Just take note of those. Walk up and down the hallway and look at each door again. Prosperity, love, health, success, creativity, business. One with your name on it, and maybe a few others. Choose the door that you're most drawn to explore right now. And open it and walk into the room of your choice. You see the room as it reflects that area of your life right now. See the colors. Hear the sounds. Does the room have furniture in it? If so, what is the furniture like? Look down at your feet. What kind of flooring is in the room? Wood, tile, carpet? What color is it? Look around. Are there windows? Are there curtains? Are the curtains opened or closed? Is it cold in the room? What is the view outside if there are windows? Is it warm, hot, bright, dark? Is anybody in the room with you? Take a moment to notice as many details as you can. Your eyes are slowly drawn to a scroll pinned to one of the walls, and you walk closer. You see on this scroll your current beliefs about this area of your life. Read all of those beliefs to yourself. You know that they have served you well in the past and that their intention has been to help you, but now it's time to change some of these beliefs around that area of your life. You take the scroll down from the wall and tear it into tiny pieces and throw it up into the air like confetti. And watch it just transform into pure light and fade away. It's now time to redecorate this room exactly as you want it to be now. So you put on your renovation clothes and you get going. Choose the colors that you want in here, the wallpaper, pictures, furniture, curtains, whatever you want to put into this room. Remember that this signifies your new beliefs about this chosen area of your life. Visualize yourself painting and bringing in the furniture or filling the room with whatever positive things you want to fill it with. You have full control over your renovations here, and no renovating budget either. When you have finished, step back and admire your work. How does it feel now? What does it look like? What sounds can you hear? Has anyone new appeared in the room? Has anyone disappeared? Walk around the room and sense all the new feelings you have about this area of your life. Walk towards the door and open it. Look at the word marked on the door and then look back into the room. Notice that a new scroll has appeared on the wall. You can go closer to see what's written on it. These are your new beliefs about this area of your life. Take a few moments for the words to become clear. And if you can't see what's written on it, don't worry, you can make a mental note and come back another day to check. But just remember that what is written in front of you is also written on your heart now. Your higher self knows what those words are, even if you're not seeing them yet. And with one last look, you can go and open the door that leads to the hallway and close the door quietly behind you as you start walking down the hallway and out of the house. You walk through the grounds and admire the beauty all around you. Notice how you feel. Now get ready to come back into present awareness, knowing that an important shift has happened. And as you stay with those feelings, you begin to notice the noises around you in the room that you're in and light coming in behind your eyelids. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes to the room. How do you feel?
Oh my goodness. I feel great. I feel like for anyone who just did that with us, you have to pause us and please go write down what you saw, write down what you felt, the colors, the redecorating. I love that meditation so much. And one of the
some people, as you know, I do a lot of different types of meditation. So sometimes there's nothing about a meditation that's guided. Some people like guided meditations, some people don't. As you know from being on our Conquer retreats, I also do mudra meditations, and sometimes we'll do EFT or a combination of EFT and meditation. There's so many different types. So if the guided meditation didn't resonate with you, know that there are a lot of different types, and meditation can be so many different things. You know, you can close your eyes and take a few deep breaths and just become aware of exactly where you are in the present moment. That's meditation. I pretty much meditate all day long now. It's just having that conscious awareness of everything that's happening around you. It doesn't have to be eyes closed. It doesn't have to be guided. So I just wanted to say that in case anyone did not resonate with that meditation that we just did. But hopefully it brought some stuff up for you that you were able to recognize, and hopefully you feel that energetic shift.
I do, for sure. I mean, there's something about guided meditations and visualizations that bring us on this imaginary journey. Maybe it's just because I like, making things up. But just learning how to trust myself and that whatever comes up came up for a reason has been such a beautiful experiment to just trusting myself in general. Because even, at times when the control person in me really wants to be like, that's not what I want to actually focus on. I don't want to talk about abundance. I want to talk about this. So I'll go over there. Instead, just think, okay, clearly abundance came up for a reason. Go through that door and just see what happens. And then realizing
the door that you went through?
No, it was actually travel.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And I can tell you a little bit without, giving all my personal secrets away about what's going on inside my heart and my head. But when you were talking about the room and like what was going on inside of it, there was a boat, Natalie. There was a boat inside, and I have lots of visualizations with boats. And it's surprising because I travel a lot right now and I'm loving it. And I did not realize that there was something that needed to shift there at all. I would never have chosen that with my intellectual self because I'm doing it, right? But when I looked at that room and then you said to redecorate it, there was some redecorating that needed to be done. And it was really a really beautiful opportunity. So thank you so much.
Happy to hear that. Okay, keep me posted.
I'll fill you in off this call. Don't worry about it. But again, for anyone else who just did this, like and I'm going to go do this, I really encourage you to like write down what you saw and what you felt, even if it doesn't make total sense to you. It's really cool. I have like a meditation journal that I use for my women's circles, and any other time I do a guided visualization, I just write everything down. And sometimes when I go back and look at them, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Or it just is a good way for me to get it out of my head and into paper so that I can really remember it. So
yeah, I write everything down too. I've had things that come up that sometimes don't make sense for several months, or a year later, I'll be going back through some of the things and I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense now. I think it's important to take note of these things. Sometimes your heart and your higher conscious just knows more than your head does at any given time, and a lot sooner than your head does. So
yeah, I think that's a for sure. There are so many things I also wanted to talk about, but we have been chatting forever. So I just want to ask you one final question before we say goodbye. And that's a really broad, basic, vague one that you can answer in any way that you like. Natalie McNeil, what makes you say hooray?
What makes me say hooray? Oh, so many things have been making me say hooray. One of the most powerful things that makes me say hooray is when somebody is just living out their highest purpose in a way that they are just fully aligned with what they should be doing. And even though there's fear that comes with that, even though you're forced to make very difficult decisions, I've actually been through a few situations this year where I felt like I was basically thrown off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And I had to navigate that, and yet I knew that that's what I was being called to do. And even though it was hard, even though it was emotionally draining and exhausting for me, I knew that's what I had to do, because that is what was needed for that full alignment. And when I see other people doing this, when I see other people making the hard decisions because they know that it's what they need to do, it is their highest path. Mm-hmm. I just think that that's the most beautiful thing in the world, that raw authenticity. I think you're a really good example of this. Like, you're a great example of someone who is just so on purpose and doing what you're meant to be doing in the world. And when I see people living their truth in that way, I have goosebumps even just saying it. Like, mm-hmm. That to me is like, fucking hooray.
Or as I say, her fucking ray. Thank you for saying that about me. I can see why that makes you say hooray. there are so many times where I feel like I have to make this scary but significant choice. And I do feel like I'm recently, especially, really living in my highest purpose. And I'm like getting nervous just saying it, right? I'm just like admitting that out loud to you because it's really scary. And I didn't always have the bravery or the boldness or, quite frankly, the surrender to do that. And I can say without a doubt that working with you and with the Conquer Club and having that support around me has 100% been one of the biggest reasons that I felt powerful and brave enough to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. We love having you part of this community. You just add so much to everything that we do. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Natalie. Before we get gushing all over each other, I'm going to cut us off, cut us short. So one last thank you for being here, and goodbye.
Hooray! Isn't Natalie the best? She's one of the most inspiring people I think I've ever met. For more information on Natalie and on the Conquer Club, go on over to hurraykimmay.com/Conquer Club. I'm sharing what my personal experience has been like in this amazing incubator program, and I have a little bonus for you if you decide to go through the Conquer Club with me together next year in 2017. I can't wait to share this with you and more. Until next time, say hooray inside, outside, and underneath. Bye!